Hey, what's up guys? Syed here, and today we are in the SsangYong Rexton. This is the latest version of the SsangYong Rexton. And before I begin, I want to thank Motoe SsangYong for lending me this car to review. They gave me this car for the entire day. So I'm gonna be going about my day with this car and see what it's like to drive and stuff. By the way, that is the sound of the signal, like your indicator. So you can actually customize it. So if you're not familiar with Motoe, they are a big company. They are actually the authorized dealer for SsangYong in Singapore, and they also deal with used cars, rental cars, car finance, car insurance, and car care. So they are a big company, and I went to their showroom just now to pick up this car, and it's massive. I don't know how many levels there are, but it's just massive, and there were tons of very, very nice cars inside. Lambos, Porsches. They own the entire building actually. That's why it's called the Motoe building. So now on to the car. Before we talk about the car, let's talk about SsangYong first. So if you're not familiar with SsangYong is a South Korean brand that they are a niche company, so they do more of off-roading vehicles. So before this review, I was talking to the SsangYong people, and they were talking me through the car, and they mentioned that this is kind of like the Asian Land Rover because it's luxurious, it has a very strong chassis, it has a lot of features, and it's just a big car overall. So some of the selling points of this car is number one, the very strong chassis. Number two, the driving features, the safety features that you can get with the car, the luxurious interior, and the seat space, which we will talk about later. So how does this car feel on the road? First impressions, I feel very, very tall in this car. Like, I was driving past a few SUVs just now, and I could clearly tell that I was towering over them. For those of you who like tall seating positions, you love the seating position in this car. Performance wise, the 2-litre 222 horsepower engine is actually quite adequate, I would say, for the car of this size and weight. It's quite responsive. There's a bit of turbo lag, but once you put your foot down, the car will pull. There's also not much body roll. I was driving a bit faster than usual just now around quite a bendy road. And yeah, you don't get the kind of body roll that you get in other SUVs. Like, it's quite planted, I would say. The steering is not as light as like a Toyota Altis, but it's definitely light enough such that it's easy to maneuver. There's also very little road noise. I think it's because of the tires. But yeah, I don't really get a lot of road noise. Very, very little road noise. But I do hear some wind noise. But maybe that's because the car is so quiet, so like every single small little sounds, I'll tend to hear it. But overall, a very quiet car. The suspension in this car is, I feel it's more to the stiffer side. It's comfortable, but it's stiff, so it doesn't really like glide over the road surface. You can still feel some of the bumps and stuff, but overall it's comfortable. Visibility is also quite good. Even though the windows here are not super big, there are like the side mirrors are pretty big and useful. Rear windows, about average. No complaints about visibility here. It's quite good. So I just entered a car park. I parked the car for a while, and then I'm now gonna exit. The reason I did this is because this car is very big, so I wanted to see how it's like to. The reason I did this is because I wanted to see how easy it was to navigate this car in a regular car park. And actually it's quite easy because the windows are quite big, the side mirrors are also very big, and you also get parking sensors and a reverse camera. So actually it's not difficult. So this Rexton is the flagship SsangYong that you can get in Singapore, and I have the brochure here with me. So this car comes with a lot of features, and before we get to that, let me just walk you through the specs. So this car has a 2-litre turbo petrol engine which produces 222 horsepower, 350 Newton meters of torque. Fuel consumption is rated at 10.4 litres per 100 kilometers, and 0 to 100 takes about 12 seconds. This car also weighs slightly more than 2 tons and has a fuel tank capacity of 70 litres. So some of the features that this car has is a smart power tailgate, sunroof, 9 airbags, hill start assist, lane change assist, rear cross traffic alert, stability control, hill descent control, lane departure warning, parking sensor, parking assist, blind spot monitoring. So let's talk about the exterior design. This car is massive. It has a wheelbase of 2.865 meters, length of 4.85 meters, width of 1.96 meters, and the height with the roof railing is about 1.825 meters. So I have to admit that at first I didn't really like the look of the car, but after just a short while it starts to grow on me, and I think this is not a bad looking car. So moving on to the interior, the moment you step inside, you know it's not a regular Korean car because the materials are really good quality, and just one look, it looks like a high-end car. Even the sound system is very clear and crisp, even though I think this is just a regular stock sound system. Practicality in the car, I would say it's for a car this big, practicality in terms of storage space is about average. You do get some not too big door bins here, I think about average size. You do get 2 cup holders, which is quite standard. You have a storage space here in the middle, which is not too big. It's deep, but it's not that big. And the glove box is also about average size as well. Practicality for passengers, however, I have to say is very good. In the middle row, you can easily fit 3 adults because although there's a transmission tunnel, it's like almost non-existent. It's just a small hump. So fitting 3 adults in the middle row is not an issue. You get more than 1 knuckle of knee room. You get more than 1 knuckle of headroom. So yeah, it's quite spacious. Even in the last row, it's still not too bad for adults. You get a bit of knee room in the last row. You get a lot of headroom. And there's even a rear aircon for the last row passengers. Of course, because it's an SUV, the boot space isn't very big because of the last row seats. But if you just fold down the seats in the last row, then you get a lot of space for you to keep your stuff. And it's also a flat area, so it's very easy for you to push in your items. One of my favorite features of this car is this ventilated seats. So you can like have aircon blowing through the seats here. So it's very useful in a hot country like Singapore, where like sometimes your legs or your ass is sweating and it's very hot. Yeah, then this is a very useful feature to have. I really like this display in the middle here. It's so pleasant to look at and it's just so easy to use. Like, I stepped into the car, I've never used it before, and after like just 1-2 minutes of playing around, I figured out how to use it. It's just very pleasant to look at and all the information is right there. So overall, what do I think of the car? What I like about the car is probably the passenger, how practical it is for passengers. For a 7-seater SUV, it's really, really good in terms of passenger space. Another thing I like is, considering how big this car is, the drive is actually not too bad. It's not supposed to be fun to drive or anything, but in terms of the steering weight, the performance of the car, it's really not too bad. You also get a lot of features with this car, like the ones I mentioned earlier. What I dislike about this car would probably be, number one, the engine is not the smoothest. Another thing I dislike about this car would probably be the comfort. It's not uncomfortable, but it's not this car's strong point either. But overall, looking at the car for what it is, at the end of the day, it's still a Korean luxury SUV. It does live up to the expectation because of the features, the build quality. The doors are really solid on this car. It's very heavy. The material, the seat quality especially is very good. Yeah, it still lives up to the Korean luxury car kind of like expectation. So yeah, that's about it for this review, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Do subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next video.